Hey guys, this is Miss Cornett, and I wanted to walk you through a few problems that you'll find in section 2.1. This first part, I want to talk to you about the different parts of an expression. We're not going to work through all of these on the video. This is a screenshot from your textbook, but I just wanted to walk through a couple of them with you. So it's important in algebra to use the proper vocabulary when you're talking about things like expressions, coefficients, variables, because you'll hear those words and use those words later on in this math class and future math classes. And so it's important that you go ahead and just understand these words from the get-go. If you look at questions like 1, 2, 3, and 4, the instructions say identify the variable in the expression, and then notice it has an S in parentheses, so there could be more than one variable. In question 1, x plus 3, it is just the letter X. And so on WebAssign, you would just type in X. Number 2, it is just the letter Y. Number 3 has 2 answers, so you would separate that with a comma. It'd be M and N. And same with 4, it'd be A, B. Okay, there's also a word in algebra called term. And the best way to identify when one term stops and another term starts is the addition or subtraction sign. Terms are separated by the plus or minus sign. And so for your answer, we will write the individual terms, but put a comma between them. So for example, look at number 5, 4x plus 3. The answer would be 4x is one term, comma, 3 is the other term. Okay, we can move right on to 6. 5 is the first term, and negative 3t squared is the second term. I want you to notice that in number 6, I did use the subtraction sign as a negative sign. Go back to number 5. I didn't mark that the 3 was positive because if a number doesn't have a negative sign out front, it's safe to assume that it's a positive number. Okay, look at number 7. Number 7, the entire fraction 5/3 is one term because the 5 and the 3 are not separated by a plus or minus. They are separated by a division sign or a fraction bar, but it doesn't make them two separate terms. The other term is negative 3y cubed. Okay, directly below it, number 10, there's 3 separate terms. You would type in x squared, comma, 18xy, comma, y squared. And it shouldn't matter on WebAssign which order you type these in, but as long as you separate them with a comma. Okay, take a look at questions like 11 through 18. It says identify the coefficient. So here's the words we've talked about so far. The word variable is a letter. Term are the different parts of an expression separated by a plus or minus sign. An expression, I should go back and talk about that. An expression is a list of terms with plus or minus between without an equal sign. As soon as the expression has equals 5 or equals 0, it switches over to being an equation. The last word on this page I want to talk to you about is the word coefficient. Coefficient is the number that stands in front of the variable. Okay, so let's take a look at this one. 11, it is just the coefficient is 14. So you would just type in 14 in the box. Across to 12, 12 is 25. 13 is the fraction negative 1/3. 14 is 2/3. Take a look at 15. 15, it's written slightly different. Compare 15 to how 13 was written. Do you see how the variable in 15 is in the numerator, but then look back at 13 and it was the entire fraction first and then the y was separate? You could also write 15 like that. You could write the fraction 2/5 and then just put the x kind of here in the middle. That's exactly the same thing as 2x over 5, but the coefficient for 15 would just be the fraction 2/5. 16 is negative 3/4. 17 and 18 are kind of tricky, and I probably won't give an example like this on WebAssign, but the coefficient is actually 2 pi. So pi, you should have learned that in high school geometry class. Pi is a symbol, not a variable because it's not an alphabet letter. It's a symbol that represents the really long decimal 3.1456, on and on and on. And so the coefficient to 17 would be whatever the value 2 pi is. WebAssign, if a question like this sneaks onto WebAssign, you could just type in the pi symbol by using that gray math pad that pops up on the right side of your screen. And so that makes 18 just pi. One more idea I want to talk to you in this video is called expanding expressions. This is also in section 2.1. So when you're asked to expand an expression, it just means to stretch out the expression instead of simplifying it like an exponent does. So for example, look at question 19. 19 is y to the fifth. Now you should have some basic information about exponents already to know that y to the fifth means that you multiply 5 y's together. And so to expand number 19, you would type 5 y's with a multiplication sign in between those y's. Okay, go across to number 20. It's negative x to the 6th. Same exact thing, guys. Except this time we would type negative x times negative x times negative x times negative x. And how many more? One more, negative x. I don't want you to multiply it because the whole purpose of these problems is asking you to expand them, not to shrink them back down and solve. Okay, look at 21. This would be 2 times 2 times x times x times x, because that was x to the 4th. Look over here at 22. This would be negative 5 times negative 5 times negative 5 times x times x. I hope you're starting to get the idea. Let's move on to one that might be a little harder. Okay, take a look at 25. Your first thought for 25 might be to say a squared times a squared times a squared, but do you see how that's not expanded enough? Basically, expanding an expression says rewrite the expression, but do not include an exponent. And so the correct answer would be a times a times a times a times a times a to rewrite it all the way out. Okay, take a look at 29. 29 is negative 9. Then there's the set of parentheses, ab cubed. Notice there's parentheses around the AB, and there's the exponent 3 right after the parentheses. The exponent of a 3 is not connected to the negative 9. So your answer will have one negative 9. It will have 3 A's and 3 B's with multiplication signs between them all. Okay, take a look at 31. 31 is the expression x plus y squared. And this one might be slightly more confusing, but the best way we can expand this one is just to say x plus y times another x plus y. Okay, and then skip down to, let me do one like 28. A squared y squared times y3 would be a times y, that's your y squared, times y cubed, which is y times y times y. We can do the same thing with a fraction. Check out number 34. This would be negative 2 over 5x times negative 2 over 5x times negative 2 over 5x. Okay, so that's all for this video. This is just the start of section 2.1, but I hope it helps you as you are working through this class. Please let me know if you have any questions.